There are moments in history when the impossible becomes inevitable, when a handful of dreamers ignite a spark that sets the entire world ablaze, and the story of the United States is one of those rare moments. Imagine 13 scattered colonies, struggling against the world's most powerful empire, daring to believe they could create a nation from nothing. No king, no crown, no empire, only the idea that people could govern themselves. That was the birth of a revolution, not just in America, but in human thought itself. When the first shots were fired at Lexington and Concord in 1775, they didn't just echo across the Atlantic. They echoed through centuries. The American Revolution became more than a war. It was a message to every tyrant and every oppressed soul that freedom was worth fighting for. Under the leadership of George Washington, a farmer-turned-general, ordinary men faced extraordinary odds. The Declaration of Independence in 1776 didn't just separate the colonies from Britain. It separated the future from the past. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Those words became a torch, passed from one generation to another, from one continent to the next. The revolution ended with victory, but the true struggle had just begun. How to turn freedom into a functioning nation. The Articles of Confederation failed, chaos loomed, and yet out of that turmoil came one of history's greatest achievements, the U.S. Constitution. For the first time, a people wrote down the rules by which they would rule themselves. The Founding Fathers didn't just create a government. They created a framework for liberty that would inspire democracies across the globe. As the 19th century unfolded, America grew, sometimes beautifully, sometimes brutally. The Louisiana Purchase doubled the nation's size overnight, opening a frontier of endless opportunity. Pioneers and settlers crossed rivers, climbed mountains, and carved towns from wilderness, guided by a belief known as manifest destiny, that America was destined to stretch from ocean to ocean. But destiny came with a cost. Native nations were displaced, cultures erased, and contradictions grew between the nation's ideals and its realities. While one hand wrote of liberty, the other held millions in chains. Slavery stained the nation's conscience, dividing North and South until the conflict could no longer be avoided. The Civil War erupted in 1861, the deadliest war ever fought on American soil. It was not just a battle over territory, but over the very meaning of freedom. When Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address, he reminded the world that democracy itself was being tested. And when the war ended, with slavery abolished and the Union preserved, the United States was reborn, not perfect, but renewed with purpose. The years that followed brought transformation at a scale the world had never seen. Steel replaced wood, machines replaced hands, and railroads stitched the vast land together. Immigrants from Europe, Asia, and beyond poured in, bringing dreams and labor that fueled the Industrial Revolution. Inventors like Thomas Edison gave the world electric light, Alexander Graham Bell brought the telephone, and Henry Ford taught humanity how to move. Inventions born in American minds reshaped every corner of Earth. Skyscrapers rose, cities thrived, and the nation that once fought to exist now began to lead. But power brings responsibility, and by the dawn of the 20th century, the United States found itself drawn into global affairs. The Spanish-American War of 1898 marked its emergence as a world power. Suddenly, America's flag flew not only over its own lands but across oceans in the Philippines, Guam, and Puerto Rico. When World War I erupted, the old empires tore each other apart and America once again became the deciding force. Its soldiers crossed the Atlantic to make the world safe for democracy, and though the victory was costly, it confirmed the nation's growing influence. But the roaring 1920s of jazz, cars, and industry gave way to the Great Depression, the darkest economic collapse in modern history. Yet even in despair, America adapted. Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal rebuilt not just the economy but the nation's faith in itself. As Europe burned again in the fires of World War II, America faced its greatest test. After the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, it mobilized with unmatched speed and power. Its factories became the arsenal of democracy. Its soldiers fought across continents. Its scientists unlocked the secrets of the atom. When victory finally came in 1945, America stood as one of two superpowers in a world forever changed. Yet peace quickly turned cold. The Soviet Union's shadow fell across Eastern Europe, and the world divided between freedom and control. The Cold War was not fought with muskets or cannons, but with ideology, technology, and fear. America's leadership would be measured not just by its armies, but by its ability to inspire. It rebuilt Europe through the Marshall Plan, contained communism through alliances like NATO, and stood firm during crises in Berlin, Korea, and Cuba. At the same time, a new kind of war was fought, a race for the heavens. When the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, America answered with NASA. In 1969, when Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon, it wasn't just an American triumph, it was humanity's. The world looked up and saw what was possible. Back on Earth, another revolution unfolded. The civil rights movement challenged America to live up to its own words. Martin Luther King Jr. dreamed of a day when character, not color, would define a person. His voice echoed around the world, showing that peaceful protest could move mountains. Through the 1960s and beyond, America's cultural power exploded. Rock and roll, born from blues and rebellion, became the language of youth everywhere. Hollywood turned stories into myths, its films shaping global imagination. Jeans, jazz, fast food, and freedom, these became symbols of an open society that others longed to experience. But the road to superpower status was never straight. Vietnam divided a generation. Watergate shattered trust. Economic struggles, political battles, and social conflicts revealed America's flaws. Yet time and again, the nation adapted. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 ended the Cold War and left the United States as the world's sole superpower. For the first time, one nation held unmatched military, economic, and cultural dominance. American technology drove globalization. Its music and media reached every home. Its ideals of democracy and human rights influenced constitutions from Europe to Asia, but new challenges awaited. The attacks of September 11, 2001, reminded the nation that even the strongest can bleed. In the wars that followed, America's might was tested once more, and so was its morality. Still, from tragedy emerged resilience. Advances in science, medicine, and technology accelerated. The Internet, born from American innovation, connected billions. Companies like Microsoft, Apple, Google, and Facebook reshaped daily life. The American dream evolved from frontier to digital frontier, from crossing oceans to crossing galaxies of information. In the 21st century, the U.S. remains a paradox, a nation both admired and criticized, powerful yet divided, flawed yet hopeful. Its influence is everywhere, in the films we watch, the languages we speak, the devices in our hands, and the freedoms we aspire to. From the revolution that declared independence to the superpower that defines globalization, America's journey is a reflection of humanity's struggle to balance ambition with conscience. It began as an experiment, could ordinary people govern themselves? And became a phenomenon that reshaped the entire world. The rise of the United States is not just the story of a country, but the story of possibility itself. Because at every stage, from Washington crossing the Delaware to Armstrong walking on the moon, from Lincoln's call for unity to King's dream of equality, America's greatest power has always been belief. Belief that tomorrow can be better. Belief that one voice can spark change. Belief that even in chaos, hope survives. And as long as that belief endures, the revolution that began in 1776 will never truly end. Because its spirit lives on, not only in America, but in every heart that dares to dream of freedom, justice, and a brighter world.